If none, then I will have the share screen. Kindly respond if you are seeing the presentation. Na ano ba?
Nana, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, once again, to those who are, have arrived late, I'm Sir Vitalian Christopher Naponi. I will be your instructor for this course ethics. But I have also my colleagues who are contributing to the lessons and to the questions that are posted in your LMS. So let me also introduce them to you. We have here Sir Johnny Bolongaita, and we have Sir Gary Tabugon, and Sir Cedric Bonalesna. So I'm introducing them to you because sometimes perhaps you may wonder that there are other faces or voices there uh, in your LMS. So it's a collaborative effort for us. And I don't know what are their philosophies also in life. So, but anyway, let's just accept this that I am your instructor. And now we go to your excuse to the syllabus. So let me emphasize that our classes will be asynchronous. So asynchronous with the prefix a. We are not in synchronous. This only will be the time we are having synchronous, same time. Syn, same or one. Chronos, time, same time. But most of the time, we will have asynchronous with the prefix a, which means nothing or negating, not in the same time. Okay, everything is already posted there, including our video lectures, the lessons, the quizzes. So it will be for the benefit for you and also for us teachers, and especially for you. Okay, no need na dayon nga you be here consuming your time. So anytime you want, depending on your convenience and the availability of your time or your internet connectivity. So you can finish this those lessons by just one day or just 1 week or 1 month, if you may, or you can just later on comply them next week or next month, as long as you will do the you will comply the activities and also be aware of the due dates of the deadlines of the quizzes and especially the midterm exams. So that would be the beauty of asynchronous in this new normal learning. Though we know that we're struggling, there are downsides in this pandemic and this new normal, but we also embrace those positive things that we have in this new normal. So once again, it is uh, asynchronous, and this will be perhaps the probably the only time that we're having the synchronous or the same meeting, the gym Google Meet. Depending if you have really important clarifications or questions, we will address if the questions are not yet discussed in the or just not posted in the LMS. Okay, so and then mm, in terms of the syllabus, the important thing is the syllabus is also posted in your LMS. You can download this one. Uh, the grading system is 30, 40, 30. The 40% is on the term exams, that is the midterm and the finals. And then we have the class standing, your uh, attendance and quizzes and performance tasks, also the activities. And They may interchange understanding and performance tasks, but one thing is clear: the term exams, midterm, and finals. And then the grades, you're familiar with this, flat 1, then the lowest is 3, passing is 3, then we have 5 fail, then I have INC if you are lacking requirements, and then drop. If you have heard about me and from other students who have undergone my subject, I usually uh, give one, a flat 1, to those who are worthy enough. And but to balance the golden mean of Aristotle, I don't give one to everyone. I also give three, or I also drop them INC if they are, if I only look at the performance of the students. But if your concern is maka-flat one ba, because I understand now some students are worried nga there are teachers nga even though kamot mo maayo, you do your best, digid mo maka-flat one. I don't know their reason, perhaps their standard, or others would say basing wala sila ka-flat one sa una when they were students. But for me, I understand the students, no, and I'm I'm generous enough at the same time because it's your work, that's your own. So hindi man ko daw and it's yours by the way, so you don't need to worry. As long as I see your performance and then the yung scores, then well, why not, you will have your flat one. But again, the balance is then don't be lax. Okay? Also napagigipang drop, napagigipang INC. So the keyword there is the balance. And also the we have the references, the textbooks that we're using. If do you see me in the, you still see me in the there in the videos? So most of the books that I'm using, it's available in our library. Our library is very big, mano. You can just look at there. We have the ethics from uh, Eddie Babor, and then we have here ethics and the Filipino by Ramon Agapay. And then we have the ethics and the philosophy of life by Felix Montemayor. And then we have ethics, still the same, from Ramon Agapay. And then we have the values and work ethics by Florino and Articulo. And then we have also the intro to philosophy by uh, Napoleon Mabacquiao. And we have here also in your syllabus the references we're using from Aristotle, Bentham, Blackburn, Gensler, Bullock, Rachel Crisp, Gilligan, Held, Kant, Mabolog, Neil, Rachel Ross, and article of Gilligan. So my point here is that we teachers consider you students as co-experts with us. So you don't need to depend on us 100%. So you may do your part by studying also and further readings. It's no longer spoon feeding, and we treat you as co-experts. And even I may attest that some of the students are smarter or more talented or gifted than the teachers. So you don't depend on us wholly. And at the same time, we consider you we teachers are also co-learners with you teachers, so we are also learning in ourselves. So we're not that perfect. And but the balance here again, motong I always choose Aristotle as my philosophy of the golden balance, because always a balance money. The balance thing is that these are the proper authority that we're looking kaning mga the authors here. I They spend most of their life in studying that particular subject, so most probably they are expert with this. And so if it's an statistics, it has a greater accuracy, or 95% or 80% or 75%, that they are correct in their what they say. But again, the balance, no blind obedience should be. given. Okay, they are not perfect as well. They may have blunders, they may have some lapses, or they mislook something. So you need also to be critical. You don't totally depend. So you use your critical thinking, and also you do your further studies, further readings, more on the balance. And especially it's very, I will emphasize this, no, it's very crucial in our time, proliferation of mga fake news, and kinsa naman lang makapost sa social media. So mo na, be careful sa atong mga kitaan, be critical always, so not just in our subject but in your life in general. Totoo ba tanan mo sa mga post dia, but the balance here, going back to philosophy, kind of social media platform. That's why they are called media, because they are just medium or tools or instruments. They mediate. They are like a bridge. So mga ano na siya, instrument, and they are neutral in themselves. Nothing is wrong with them. Okay. For example, the knife can be used for hurting, and the knife can also use for cutting, for cooking your food, something like that. So it depends on who are the people using it, because they are neutral. Di ba? We always hear in mga TikTok universities, YouTube, Facebook. There's nothing wrong with that if we know the proper thinking and the rightful authority are using them. So again, golden balance. For example, if these proper authors are posting there in the YouTube, so therefore it would be all right as well. And the balance is, we don't uh, automatically dismiss everyone who are posting there. I'm not saying tanan nag-post ito is wapoy klaro. Perhaps they may have a point. We need also to listen to them. Uh, we need to look at their point if na. But again, we also look at the authority. Okay, o na siya. And then I'm not dismissing everyone, but always be careful kay in these mga media platforms, they are, as I've said, they are just tools or medium. Anyone can upload man dito so even a grade 1 student or tambay mag-post dito so people say pwede mudali sa tagtuo, though I'm not degrading them. We can also listen to them. I'm emphasizing that because in our, if you notice in our LMS, yan na loading naman we upload also our discussions in the YouTube. So we record our classes, and then we upload it in YouTube, and then we get the URL in the and post that in the LMS. Okay, if we directly post the video in the LMS, di man po siya makadaog, no, ang big data. So we just upload there, and then get the URL. So the point is that, oh, we're using also the YouTube and other media platforms. So there's nothing wrong with them as long as there's a proper authority and you are critical enough. And those discussions that we are posting are also coming from the books here in the reference that we're showing to you. So I hope you get my point, no? More on siya. Be critical enough, so the bigger picture, you need to use your philosophical thinking. It's like kung man gyud looking the entire picture. For example, if you're familiar with the story of the elephant and the blind men, six blind men, one of the blind men, ano siya nga, holding the daunggan's elephant, the ear of the elephant, saying, "It's a fan." It's pai pai. Hold one also holding the feet, saying it's a pillar or it's a tree. One is holding also the body of the elephant, saying it's a wall. One is also holding the uh, kanang bone ganiya sa iyang teeth, task man siya. Some will say it's a spear. One is holding the trunk or kaniyang trumpet, saying it's a snake. Si naglalis, one holding the tail, saying it's a rope. So naglalis sila because you don't see the entire picture. But looking at the entire picture, they will realize that it's actually an elephant. So the same with those I've said. We know we go to the proper authority but we don't dismiss though everyone nga nag-post po diha, or they might have a point also as well. But muna siya, just be careful. And the probability, statistically speaking, is the authority as well, mampod. We trust in the authority that they're doing their job well. For example, in sports, you're familiar with the sports, anything you like, for example, basketball or baseball or football, badminton, or sa padiha, there's always a proper authority, or there's a handbook, and or there's a referee in basketball. For if you let the players decide what is happening, then di na mahuman ang duwa, ang tanan team mo ang isa ka team yung bikas mo foul, ang isa pagka team foul ang pisa. So di siya maglalis na sila. But if there's a referee, there's a proper authority, mahuman na siya. Though we're not saying as well the entire picture, the balance is nga sakto po pero yung referee, perhaps na things nga na mislook sa referee. Mapunang sa NBA, they have their videos para i-check din, no? Then, but still, the referee is has the final decision. So it's the beauty of the authority. But again, the balance, uh, not the total blind obedience to the authority, but most probably we trust in them and their expertise. And we use this media platform for also teaching. I keep on repeating this to emphasize my point. No, I hope you see my point and the value of that. And so, motto ang anara. Can someone respond if just to check if napapa mo or you're seeing this LMS? Okay, thank you. So as you see in this LMS, mga po niya ang sulod sa uh, atong syllabus. So we have the diagnostics, we have 131 out of 50, so napay 19. So pag take na mo, pero so far it's a good number, dagani naka-take. And then, so that's the nature of diagnostics. I posted in the GC. Kung tinga mo, you're not familiar. That's the nature of diagnostics or pre-test. It's to measure your background knowledge or stack knowledge or advanced ba mo. Kung perfect na ni, so we will upgrade or depending your result. So we will compare the result to your midterms or finals, your improvement. So that's the essence of diagnostic. So we have here the lecture videos and lessons, activity. Katuon yung gipang mention kay na philosophy in life, pwede rin mora po ito yung ibutan diri sa activity, uh, para mas kansiya recorded dito. But I also record your oral recitation. So everything is here. Uh, Pantay mo ning mga na URL. So when you click that, it will lead you to YouTube videos. The one saying a while ago. For example, this one, when you click that, it will go to loading pa YouTube. Um, So something like that. So mo tong point kay na no nga. So we're posting in YouTube man. O apil ba ta atong kancha to YouTube universities? No, it's just a platform. It's just a medium. It's just a tool, and it's still depending on the authority. And everything that we teach there is coming from the books, man. But then again, mo to, not I'm not saying also that I encourage ka ng mga TikToks or mga YouTube or Facebook nga diha mo mag-learn pod kay wa may maka-edit diha. Unlike the books or other mga networks, they have a lot of editor-in-chief na yung mga imprimatur, na yung mga kuha na siya just to edit everything before to publish. So mas safe sila. Pero naman giuban po the students, they like to learn by seeing and by hearing and not just by reading. So although we ask for the help of this media platform, and to my point there as I recorded, that's why we're having asynchronous class most of the time sa atong klase kay it's the same man. I discuss here and then you listen, and then It's the same that I record my discussion and then post it. Then mas ma-replay pa ninyo, balik-balik, oh, kasabot ato. Then you can go back again and again. So that's the beauty of a synchronous class. And okay, you get my point. And then going back to the topics, all the topics here are also posted in the LMS. Orientation, many we have university-wide orientation, department, and college. The overview of philosophy, the definition of philosophy, its etymology from the word origin, and we have from Aristotle and Thomas and from Jaspers. If you remember in your senior high, philosophy has a lot of definitions. Uh, it's infinitely rich. That's why we define, we cut its infinity to make it finite. But it doesn't mean that this definition is the only definition. You can have a lot of definition from different philosophers. We just pick the common one or uh, the definition we think best one. So we have the dimensions of ethics. Again, now we focus now on the ethics because the philosophy has a lot of ano siya, branches like epistemology in the philosophy of knowledge, metaphysics in the philosophy of existence or of being, then aesthetics, philosophy of beauty. We have logic, philosophy of reasoning. We have the philosophy of science. We have the philosophy of mathematics. We have philosophy of spirituality, philosophy of religion. But here, philosophy of ethics is more focused on the philosophy of actions. What is the proper thing to act? Uh, Morality, the practices, what is good, what is right. So, we will discuss um, what is the common good, what is moral, what is not moral, what is immoral, what is good, what is evil. And then the moral dilemmas are the difficulty of deciding. And most of the time in our life, it's not a white and black choices. It's not an easy. Though there are things that easy to identify. This one is wrong. This one is correct. Rape is always wrong. Charity is good, but there are things that is very difficult to decide. Is this justified or not? Is the war justified or not? Is it all right to kill in order to have a piece of the village of Konoha? Is it all right to wipe out the clan Uchiha, or is Putin justified in his war to defend their security in Russia? Is it all right? Is war all right, or is it all right to kill in order to kill the drug addicts for the peace of the people, something like that? Most of the time there are things it's hard to identify, or though for some it's easy to identify, but there are people who will contend to it. Yeah. No, it should be understood also in this kind of perspective. And I'm not saying that one thing is correct, one thing is wrong. We will just listen to them, and that's the good thing of the authorities. We also listen to the philosophers, the good authority that they have, that these people are thinking most of the time how to face or how to address the matter, especially our moral dilemmas. Mag-drop ba ka o dili, magpadayon ba ka o dili, would you like to abort the child or not? Is it all right to have this uh, gay marriage? Uh, good to is it good to suicide? Something, most of the ethical questions, no? So we have a lot of debates, as I've said, and those topics. We have the cultural relativism. For one action may be acceptable in a particular culture, but not acceptable in other culture. Like polygamy, you will have many wives for some culture, or from other culture, it's not acceptable. And I'm not saying when we see the culture, the first thing is we don't automatically judge because we don't know their proper context. No, uh, they may have their uh, meaning to that. They may have their explanation But going back again to Aristotle, my philosophy, golden balance. At the same time, di po pwede nga we will just leave them alone because that's their culture. Or there are things that we believe as universal law na yung mga objectivity of truth. For example, what if their culture is practicing rape? Is it already ayaw na hilabti because that's their culture? No, of course. The balance is that there's a thing that we hold that's objectively correct and that is objectively wrong. Di na siya pwede. So we can also try to approach them and try to correct. At the same time, we don't automatically judge. We need to experience, to look at, to see kung sa man gini ilaha. So that's the cultural relativism. So again, I'm not saying Taritsu Tamujas is wrong and right, but also we try to the collective understanding of the people, the thinkers. We also sometimes try to uh, we can also try to judge or to have a collective claim that this is something wrong. For example, discrimination or slavery, something like that. The golden balance of Aristotle. So, that's my philosophy. Kay mong balik-balik ko dia most of the decisions in life or even in teaching. The same ethical subjectivism. So if there's a cultural relativism varying in the culture, here varying in the subject, yeah, for me this is correct, for you that is wrong. So the same approach, no, the golden balance, the proper thinking. We don't automatically judge for perhaps that is his or her own value perspective, that is ethical standards. But at the same time, di po pwede nga apasardaan na rapod. Okay, basin sa iya, okay rin dahil mo patay. Ano, at the same time, that's why we have law. We have, and the fortunate thing is in our society, we don't actually hold this one most of the time, cultural relativism and subjectivism. Though we practice in some sense, but the society has this objective thinking. That's why we have laws. Lagi sa to nga, ipriso gid ka once kani nga buhat imong gibuhat. Di pwede ka nga naka sa korte nga, ay pagbuot kay this is my life or this is my morality. No. We have a common understanding of morality somehow. That's why we also have education. Okay? There are things, there are knowledge, there are truth that we hold as true. Di pwede mato kasi yung klase sa math nga. Di ma'am, 1 plus 1 is 3 gid para sa ako. So, di po pwede. There are things nga we hold as objectively true, but na po yung mga preferences. For example, ice cream para sa emo, ubi is good, but for him or her, mango is the best or something like that. But in terms of morality, so that's why we need to study this one, uh, ethical subjectivism and relativism. Mm, this is, I would like to emphasize this because this is very common to us nowadays. This is my life, di magbuot. Of course, that is your life. You are free to do, but there are limitations somehow. There are things that is non-negotiable. Yeah. Ikaw na lang magbuot sa dito nahitabo sa una or sa tuy common things we hold as certain, as truthful, or something like that. So always balance our thinking. We have the supernaturalism. Uh, as you notice in ethics, we are just taught of many ethical principles. For example, so one philosopher would advise us, this is the proper action, or this is the good thing, or this is the morality. And others would also tell. So we also have here supernaturalism from the perspective of the divine or of God. Okay. For example, mingon ta, my action is based on science, so that is ethics of scientism, or my action is based on mathematics, or based on psychology, or based on pure ethics, or based on consequence. But here, you can also say, it's based on the divine. It's supernatural. There's natural, but it goes beyond what is natural. It is super. So it does not mean illogical. Okay, there are logical explanations of, for example, God's existence. We have Thomas Aquinas is a philosopher, is a great thinker, explaining how is it possible, how is it rational that to believe that there is this. divine, not necessarily the God of the religion, but divine as itself, as God. He explains in the five ways, Quinta Via, the five ways of Thomas Aquinas. Yeah. Everything, as you observe, everything has a creator. The laptop has a engineer. The building has a uh, apa na yan? Still, builder, the engineer. There's no such thing existing that is not created. Always good night. There's something coming from. Even science would affirm that. That's why science is also offering solution like the Big Bang theory, the explosion or the evolution, the primary cell. So no, Thomas Aquinas also looked at perhaps there must also be a beginning, a creator, or the intelligent designer. Yeah, everything is always designed. There is this rotation of the Earth in its own axis, and there's a revolution around the sun. There's always a perfect fine tuning. There's the beauty of the eyes. There's the beauty of the spider web. There's the beauty of the animals and everything. So since it's beautiful, then therefore there must be an intelligent designer, not just an explosion, not just a primary cell which is unconscious, but an intelligent or a conscious being. So that is their logical explanations. That's why my point is it's also valid to have this supernaturalism or ethical standards based on the divine. So something like that. And whether we like it or not, also our mga laws in the society, our moral standards, they are deeply rooted also in the religious perspective, deeply rooted on the, uh, for example, in Christianity or in Judaism, in Jewish tradition or in Islam. So something like that. So we need also to look at from that perspective. Now we have the ethical egoism that you do moral actions based on yourself, based on your ego. So uh, again, how we're not saying one is correct or one is wrong. We're just presenting them as is, and then we look at their pros and cons. Uh, there is common pros and cons. There's positive thing and negative thing. There's a downside, and also there's a uh, light into that. Next, we have midterm, and then we have consequentialism from the word consequence. Consequence. So based on the consequence, the aftermath or the result or the product, uh, this ethical theory is teaching us that we follow our actions based on the result and not based on the action. For example, uh, uh, si Robin Hood, the consequence is to give to the poor, but his means, the action is gunman, stealing or robbery or kawat. So how do we assess that? For consequentialism, since the product is good, then for them it's all right. Again, as a caveat, I'm not saying that is correct. No, we're just saying that this is their how they view the consequentialism is based on the consequence. So the consequence is peace of the society, but their action is to kill everyone or to kill the addicts. So is that correct or not? For consequentialism, that is viable, that is good because the consequence is good. Though we cannot see the entire consequence, ikatong gipampatay po, perhaps it will have a bad consequence to the family, their children and their wife seeing that their husband was murdered. Perhaps the consequence will also bad in the future. But on seeing the consequence in terms of something peace or nakahadlok ang mga tao, so it will deter the crime, then perhaps it's good for them. But I don't recommend this. At the same time, I don't downgrade this. I don't dismiss this. But the society is not so much of consequentialism. No, for example, in the education, we don't advocate, for example, cheating. For consequentialism, if you cheat and then for you to pass, then okay, siya, can the consequence is good. But for us, no, there is something as good in itself, whether we like it or not. An action is good and then always good and the bad is always bad, and that is deontology mo po niya another ethical standards for deontology, mainly from Kant, from the word deon. Greek dion, that is duty. There's a duty that we need to do, that a good thing is always a good thing and a bad thing is always a bad thing, no matter what is the consequence or no matter what is the result or what is the product. For example, lying. Lying will always be bad for Immanuel Kant. Bahalag pag that's a white lie that it will result for the salvation of, for example, yung tana aman si Sano, pero yung patyon. But you who will lie will always say what is proper. Will say always the truth. So since kabalo man ka, then you will tell them. So that is the deontology. Another example tong killing. Even though it's for peace or malimpyo or mahadlok, killing is always wrong. That is for deontology. Cheating will always be wrong. War, which involves death and violence, will always be wrong. That is for deontology. And again, I keep on repeating this. I'm not saying that this is correct. Deontology is wrong. We will just listen to them from the philosophers. And if it's up to you to assess, may sako-sako. So that's why motong sa ito introduction, you look for your philosophy in life. So my philosophy in life is mo gid ni wrong will always be wrong, right is always right. Or your philosophy, depende na sa consequence, or depende na sa religion, or depende na sa kung self, or depende na sa culture, something like that. And you may say nga, sa may labot na ako, no, it's very important, no? Okay, the philosophy will actually dictate your entire actions or even the world. For example, kanang the Russia and Ukraine is the battle between philosophy man. Philosophy for kuan ba might is right. Kay kusgan ko then I am the right thing or something like that. Or ilaha peace gid ilaha. Bahala nag mga balag kusgan ang kalaban as long as they stand for their right. So something like that. Or in our Philippine elections, your philosophy kung sa man nimo this one since this is my philosophy so therefore this is my uh, candidate or something like that. You always apply your philosophy because your philosophy will always influence yourself. We have here virtue ethics. For virtue ethics, it is teaching us that uh, a good person is doing good thing. So a good thing are the things done by good persons. So for example, if for you the uh, Rizal is a virtuous man, therefore the things that Rizal did are the things that you will follow because Rizal is a virtuous man. So kung sa mo yung gibuhat, so he studies well, he fight for the freedom. So those are the virtuous act. So in virtue ethics, we don't look at the consequence, we don't look at the something of the action, but we look at the person. We look at the virtuous person. Uh, for you, if this person is bad, so therefore everything that this bad person is doing, so you will also avoid that one. So that is the virtue ethics. So that is for Aristotle. But Aristotle also, uh, in his idea of virtue ethics, there are objective values. So na mga truths, goodness, and beauty nga non-negotiable, always in sila sakto. And since these are correct, so you as a virtuous person or aspiring to be a virtuous man, you must always follow these things. So motong kang Aristotle, the virtue of wisdom, the virtue of courage, the virtue of prudence, everything kato siya will be applied to the golden mean. So for example, wisdom, wise ka. But the extreme, ang excess, muna siya ang mga evil things or vicious. Sobra rapod, hambugero rapod kay ka. You'll be too confident or you'll be arrogant. Or kung deficiency po, di na po ka magtuon, you'll be ignorant. So, the virtuous person is the one who hit the balance. The golden mean, which is wisdom. Or the courage. Ang sa courage, ito, ang sobra is over hastiness or foolishness sa dagan kay kalaban, but then you proceed, so that is no longer courage but that is foolishness. But at the same time kung muhawa ra po ka motalaw ra po ka diri, so then that is also cowardice. So virtue ethics is telling us to always do the balance, hitting the balance. And again, it's very difficult to hit the balance sometimes, what or to identify what is the balance, something like that. that is virtue ethics. And then we have contractarianism based on the contract that we do the action, proper actions based on mga nasabutan nato, based on the pact that we have. Uh, I teach you because there's a contract for us teachers, or you listen because that is a contract as a student. So some of the moral actions are based on the contract that is also part. And then we have the applied ethics and applying the ethics in the modern time for there is a current, or there are things to be upgraded in terms of the modern society. So how to apply them, mga situations and uh, circumstances in the modern period. And then we have ethics and science. As I have said, there can be a perspective from the lens of the sciences. Okay, for example, in science, there can be scientific claims. This will be the best ethics. Okay, they have studied it through statistics. They have researched it. So there's already the the taste of science. So, for example, for science, they will have interviews, they will have surveys. This will be the best ethics. And at the same time, science also needs ethics. Okay, the science cannot just upgrade without measure. They will make many atomic bombs or nuclear bombs. Di po na pwede. The ethics should also check and balance science. Okay, uh, it's not advisable that they do everything. Pwede ba mag-clone i-clone ang mga tao? So that is an ethical question. Is the science allowed to have this? O pwede ra ba nga kung ano dito, uh, mag-transplant ka? Is it alright to interbreed? Is it alright kanang all of the scientific concerns also involving ethics, and you can think a lot, no? Or even in technology, is it alright to hack? Is it alright to have phishing? Is it alright na mga cyberbullies? So there's also ethical concerns in sciences and technology. So ethics in the society, in terms of the society, in terms of yourself, in terms of justice, in terms of equity. So a lot of things that involves ethics. So those are the things, the lessons that are posted already there in the LMS. You may proceed there. So again, it's asynchronous. You may finish them just for 1 month or one day or 1 week, or you may uh, just forgo later. But it's up to you, as long as you comply the exams here and activities. Okay. So do you have question, clarification?